Good fish. Oh yeah. Good fish. He's deep. Big fish.
I've been with Shimano my entire career, and I've tried all the reels that they've introduced for 30 years now. And I got to tell you, the new Metanium, it blows me away. It's such a solid performer.
First of all, it's got a core solid body made out of magnesium, so it's lighter, also warmer to the touch. A lot of benefits to that. Very strong.
It's a rigid, stronger frame, and it's super sensitive. And I'll tell you what's really cool about it. You know, you always want to be in contact with your lure. You want to feel every little pulse and vibration that comes up the line. With this new core solid body, it works even when there's, you know, when you're not in contact with your lure. If you like a slack line presentation like jerk baiting, or maybe you're cranking a crankbait and the line goes slack, you're going to feel it with this reel where you might not with another.
Of course, it has a micro module gear, but another thing they did this year is change it to a brass material, or brass, so it's a lot harder material.
It has more contact points than other gears, and it'll last a lifetime. Super, super durable.
Another really cool thing about this reel is the spool itself. It's called MGL3. 17% less startup inertia, so it spins a lot easier and quicker, so your casting distance will become further. And if you're throwing light, small crankbaits or something that's hard to throw, it'll throw it easier.
You can finesse light baits into the wind. It's you know, skipping under docks. Any type of more difficult presentation, you're going to have more control. You know, I travel everywhere. I fish rivers and lakes across the country, and there's a lot of variation in what we do, a lot of different techniques, a lot of different lure selections going on. And the one thing I know that's consistent, that I can rely on day to day, is the performance of a Metanium reel.
Honestly, this reel rocks. Incredible. You use them for a whole season, 2-3 seasons, that's how the way I fish, and at the end of the season, they're the same. Just an incredible piece of machinery, I'll tell you that.
Good evening and hello everyone, and thank you for joining in today for our last and the final episode of All About Baitcasting. It is good to have all of you here, and I'm sure you're eager to meet today's special guests and also learn about how to maintain your baitcasting reel. First, the lockdown is lifted in a lot of places now, but beware, be careful, wear your mask and maintain physical distancing. Not social distancing. I recently heard from a doctor in a conference saying that social distancing is not something which you should avoid, because social distancing is what you need. Your friends, your anglers are the people that you need. Be in touch with them, get on a video call, make sure they're all well. But what you need is a physical distancing, that is stay away from like 6 feet away. That is what is physical distancing. So please maintain your physical distancing, wear a mask, and so that we can end this pandemic and also, get to fish, get to do something which we all love, that is fishing. Please do let us know in the comments that you all are doing good and doing great wherever you are, and thank you for joining us again. Before we start, we would like to let you know, don't miss a chance to win a Shimano gift hamper, because today is the last session. So, and today is the last chance you have on winning this. What you have to do is very simple. Like this video, share this video, and tag 5 friends of yours in the comment section. Also, make sure you're there till the end of the show. Okay, we will be announcing the winners at the end of the show. Please stay till the end of the show and comment as soon as we call out your name. That is very, very important. If you're not there, if you do not comment immediately, we will then pick the next winner. Thank you once again for joining in. And let us now welcome David from Shimano. David has been a great supporter of Indian anglers and always willing to help them reach their potential. I think the lockdown in Singapore is also easing out. David, welcome to our last and final show on All About Baitcasting. It's awesome to have you here as always. And I think a lot of people are going to be sad that they're going to miss you in this show.
Okay, good afternoon. Yeah, thank you, Derek. So I'm David. So it's very nice to be here with you guys again. Okay, I think today will be our last installment for the Baitcasting Clinic. And maybe I hope that what we have discussed in the previous 3 episodes is beneficial, and it will help you to kickstart the baitcasting journey. Okay, so maybe what I can do is, for the benefit of those that join us for the first time, maybe I will just recap some of the topics that we have discussed. First, in the first show, we have discussed about the difference between the baitcasting and the spinning setup, and also in terms of the equipment and the rod, what are the difference and for the both of them. So in short, it's not advisable to mix or interchange the 2 different rods for both spinning and baitcasting, because they have a different type of equipment and a different type of function. And second talk show, we talk about the difference between we talk about the 3 main difference of the braking. Okay, the first is the centrifugal brake, or known as the mechanical brake, magnetic brake, and finally the digital control brake, where it uses a microcomputer to assist in the braking. So in terms of details or the technology or the working concept, I will not go into detail, but if you want to know more, you can still refer to the past show in Pelagic Tribe Facebook page. So finally, we talk about the setting of the baitcasting reel, how to adjust the cast control to help you to minimize the chances of getting the backlash. And also the same thing, the video is still there. We actually requested Pelagic Tribe to keep the video for you guys to refer to. But in the event, if you have any more questions, so do feel free to drop us a message, and we will try our best to answer it. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do today. In today, we have some special guests. So we have our 4 wonderful anglers from different parts of India to share with you their fishing journey, their journey and their experience. And also, we have Owen, Mr. Owen from Pelagic Tribe. And I believe that he has opened more reel than the number of fishes that I caught in my entire life. And his experience in finding those abnormal knocking sound coming from the reel is second to none. And he also helped numerous anglers to revive their precious reel and almost put us out of business. So without further ado, so let's invite the reel whisperer, Mr. Owen Bosen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Owen Bosen from Pelagic Tribe. Besides my usual jobs, I also handle servicing of reels and rods. I have been trained by Shimano, and passed 3 levels of reel service at Singapore and Shimano, and I would like to share with you some tips on maintenance of bait casting reels, just so that you get the best out of your reels over the years. So we'll begin with some of the don'ts that you shouldn't do, and this will help you to put the right foot forward. First thing that you don't do is when you're finished using your reel, don't rinse your reel with your drag knob and with the cast control knob loose. You first need to tighten them up before you attempt to wash your reel. The next thing is also do not remove the handle of your reel, whether it's a bait casting reel or a spinning reel. Don't remove it before you wash the reel, because water will enter into the reel. The third point which you shouldn't do is don't use high pressure water from a hose pipe or from a tap. Keep the water pressure down as low as possible, because when you put high pressure water, it can force water into the reel and cause damage to some parts. Over time, rust takes place. Do not wash your reel in the upside down position. When I say upside down position, the foot of the reel should not be facing upwards, and then you're allowing water to go inside. Because if you look at your reel carefully in the upside down position, you'll find 2 small slots on either side of the reel where water can enter into the mechanism. So don't do that. Always put the reel under the tap with gently flowing water in the same position that you would use it on your rod that's facing upwards. Then the next point is, do not try to soak your reel in a bucket of water or fresh water. That will totally ruin your reel, because water will get into the reel. And do not place your reel in direct sunlight, under direct sunlight. The reason being that the heat from the sun can melt and degrade the grease which is used for lubricating the various parts of the reel. So those are the don'ts. So how to properly wash your bait casting reel? Let's have a look at what you should do. So the first thing you need to do is tighten your control cap and tighten the drag before washing the reel. So the cap is a cast controlled cap, and the star drag on the reel, or whatever type of drag you have on it. Now, this is the position that you should be washing your reel in, with gently flowing water and the reel facing upwards, and rinsing for about 10 to 15 seconds or 20 seconds maximum. See that the water flows over the line and flows over the handle and all the body parts, but don't turn the reel upside down. You can use a gentle brush or even a toothbrush, which is a very soft toothbrush, to clean between all these metal parts and to clean the handle and the star drag. This will prevent salt from accumulating in the crevices on the body of the reel. Also clean the line guide. You can see that the line passes through the center of the guide, the eye, and this is the first point of contact of water and salt residue which gets onto the reel, and also a lot of dust and dirt and particles from the water, including particles from your braid, the fibers from your braid, and also from time to time, if you're fishing in fresh water, you may get weeds and things like that from the water, which come in and clog the line guide. And under that you've got the worm gear and the ball pin, which can get jammed, and this will cause improper line lay on your reel. So make sure that you clean this part very well, and then you go on to the next step. Before you end your cleaning of the reel, also one more thing you can do is that you turn the reel upside down and also clean the foot, the 2 feet of the reel which attaches to the reel seat. But make sure that you don't have water pouring onto the reel when you're doing this part. Clean it properly, because salt can accumulate in that place. And then after that, the next point that you would need to do is to spin the reel, turn the handle in a fast rotation manner, which will get the excess water out of the reel. Once you've done that, hold the reel firmly and shake it dry so that all the excess water comes out of the reel. And next thing that you need to do is take a soft cloth and clean the exterior of the reel properly with a towel from all sides. Wipe it dry with a nice dry cloth. Then loosen your cast control cap. And then you can remove the side cover and remove the spool from your reel. Once you've removed the spool, take the cloth and wipe all the excess water off the spool and from the shaft, and from all sides. You can even see from the cast control drag, you've got small plastic pieces there. Clean all those things thoroughly. And inside the reel, gently use the cloth and clean where the bearings are, the mechanism, whatever you can see, wherever there's water around, just clean it gently by dabbing a cloth. Don't be rough especially with the cover and things like that. Just need to very gently clean it up. Now loosen the star drag and leave it close. Put back all the components in the reel, that is putting your spool back and the side cover and everything back, and just keep it in a cool, dry place to dry. How to store your reel is very important. After you've cleaned it and you let it dry indoors in a cool, dry place, do not immediately put the reel into your pouch. Let it dry fully before you put it into the pouch, because you can get fungus and things like that forming, especially if your line hasn't dried. You must make sure that the line dries fully on the spool before you put it back in your pouch. And as far as possible, refrain from putting leaving your reel in your car. The sun, again, will cause the grease inside the reel, the lubricant that you've used, to melt, and this can hamper the working of your reel, and you would probably need to service your reel much more frequently if you have the habit of leaving your reel in your car for long periods of time. So that's it. Thank you very much. Hope this was useful to you, and see you again next time.
Whether you're a seasoned tournament angler or someone using a baitcaster for the first time, being confident in your casting and making each cast count is the key to a great day on the water. Today we're fishing off the beautiful waters of Groot Island and hoping to catch a few barramundi, and we're going to be using the new CraZie DC baitcaster. The coolest feature of this new reel is the DC technology, which stands for digital control, and it's a real game changer when it comes to casting. When casting with a standard baitcaster, using your thumb to manually control the spool is what was required to make a good cast. Now with the new DC technology, the digital control mechanism automatically controls the rotation of the spool during the cast, meaning that your thumb is no longer in play while the lure is in flight. If you listen closely, you can hear the mechanism engaging during the cast. So now when you cast your favourite lure into a snag, using the CraZie DC, you can be confident that the potential for the dreaded backlash is minimised. So here's how you'd set up your new Corrado DC and use the reel to its full advantage. Step 1, dial in your cast control so that when your lure is released, there's no backlash when the lure hits the ground or the water. Step 2, then select your DC setting mode on the dial located on the side plate. There are 4 different modes to choose from depending on your style. 1 is for max distance, 2 for braid or mono, 3 for fluorocarbon lines, and 4 for skip casting. Step 3, pick your favourite snag and have a cast. Don't forget, limit your thumbing on the spool and let the DC technology kick in during the cast. If you need to adjust your cast control knob, dial it in and out depending on your personal preference. It's that easy.
Thank you guys and welcome back everyone. I think that session from Owen was very, very important. I think there are so many tips to be learned and I wish we knew this a long time ago. I think a lot of anglers, what they do is leave their reels in the car and then, because of the sun and things like that, there is a lot of issues that happen and we have received some reels for servicing, people leaving the reels out in the sun for too long. So I think these are some of the most important tips. And I've seen a lot of anglers also putting the reel in the bucket, which becomes a problem because you're, pushing water into the reel and then the reel needs to go on to an overall service. So these tips are very great. And I think anglers, those of you who are using the bait casting reel, please do, ensure that you follow these tips. Make sure you follow the don'ts and not to make those mistakes, and follow the do's and ensure that the reel stays with you for long. Reels are an investment and some of the reels last you for a lifetime as long as you maintain them properly. Thank you, everyone. And I think now it's time to actually invite, it's time for the guests to be on the show. It's time to invite them. And I think a lot of you are waiting to hear from them and their experiences. We have Owen from OmisFishing. We have Nizam from Nizam's Vlogs. We have Ziegen from CraZie Fishing and Abdul Vajid from Tackle Tips. They have been using the baitcasting reel for some time now and are extremely happy with the setup and will share their experience with you. Without further ado, let us welcome Owen into the show. Please welcome Owen. Hi, Owen. Owen is originally from Chennai, but lives in Karnataka and fishes the Kaveri River very extensively. I have fished with Owen a couple of times, and he's a really hardcore snakehead angler. And I haven't seen any angler going after the snakehead so vigorously and so dedicated in terms of catching a snakehead. I think, his relentless pursuit of snakeheads has made him understand how the fish works and, how he has to work with the fish to catch them. He's a very responsible angler, believes in catch and release, and he has caught many fish. I mean, I think those of you who follow him on his channel, OmisFishing, you will see that he catches a fish every day or every week, I think. Welcome, Owen. Please introduce yourself to our audience and share your experience on your baitcasting journey.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. This is some very useful session for especially somebody who's beginning with baitcasting. So big thanks to Pelagic Tribe, Derek, you, and to David as well from Shimano. So about me, I'm from Chennai, like Derek has mentioned. I started off with saltwater. So 2016, I moved to Bangalore. So I live in Bangalore for the last 5 years now. So ever since I moved to Bangalore, I'm into freshwater. Like Derek was mentioning, I love to pursue snakeheads. I'm still pursuing, trying to understand the behavior and catch my trophy someday. So ever since I moved to freshwater fishing, I'm using Shimano Baitcasters exclusively. I have a lot of different Shimano reels, something as entry level as a Casitas, to the flagship models like Calcutta, Conquest. So I would love to share my experience using the Baitcasters, probably answer some of your questions. I really look forward to that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Om, for giving us a glimpse of your baitcasting journey. Viewers, if you have any questions for Om, please do send in your questions. We will answer at the end of the session today. I do have some questions for Om. So, Om, what was your first Shimano baitcasting reel?
Sure, David. It's a Shimano Casitas. I'm sure you know. I don't know if it's still available. A lot of new models have come, like SLX and all that. My first one was Shimano Casitas. You can see that in this photo. That's the very first reel, the Shimano baitcaster I used. And you can also see that's the biggest snakehead I've caught, 4.5 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, that is really a big snakehead, and I think it's an amazing thing to catch one of those on the baitcasting reel, especially if you're using top water. I'm not sure if you caught this on top water or.
It was a frog.
Oh, okay, great. So, when you switched from spinning to baitcasting, what was your learning curve?
There was definitely a learning curve. It was slightly different. I would say just a little bit. For probably the first 2 days, it was difficult dealing with the backlash. Everybody talks about backlash and bird's nest. It is true. It tends to happen, but it's not so difficult that you will not want to use a baitcaster. You just need to understand the difference between the spinning reel and how a baitcaster works. 2 days, probably I spent some time, digging into the bird's nest and clearing them off. Once I got the hang of it, I don't have any spinning reels, to be frank. I don't have all the reels I have are baitcasters now.
Well, I mean, I think what everyone does is once you move into baitcasting, you chuck away all your spinning reels and just get attached only to your baitcasting reel. So when you started off, what did you use? Did you use mono or braid?
I used braid. I never used mono as my main line. Of course, leaders, you do use mono, but I was using braid. I had trouble, like I said, the first 2 days. It was not a great experience, but only those 2 days until I got the hang of adjusting your brakes and your gas control knob. Understanding, it takes little time to understand your reel, and once that is done, I think it's fantastic to use baitcast. Everybody must try if you ask me.
Absolutely, and I think you were very brave to start off with the braid, because I think most of them, it becomes very difficult and you tend to lose. At least I did when I started off losing. When I started off using, baitcasters, there was nobody to tell me what exactly to do. I did put braid on it at the first time, and I put like a very light braid, and I lost that entire braid. I had to cut and throw it off. So I'm not sure whether you had that experience, but I would suggest.
I had to throw away some.
Thrown braid,
Sorry.
right? So I would suggest people to use mono to begin with. I think it's easier. I learned that at a later stage, and I've been recommending that to a lot of people, and they seem to like the experience with mono. And the sudden transition from mono to braid actually gives them a lot of confidence, because when they move to braid, it's much more smoother, and the distance also becomes quite longer, and they seem to like it. Sorry.
I was going to say it's a much more sane decision to use monofilament when you're starting off.
Correct.
It's a good decision.
Correct. Absolutely. For the viewers who are here today, they've seen the maintenance of the reels from Owen. But what would how do you maintain your reel? Because you also have some videos on how to maintain reels. What would the tips be for the users on how to maintain their baitcasting reel to last very long?
Sure. So the first thing is invest on a decent reel. The best reel you can buy. Don't cheap out. That's number one. Whatever is your budget, get the best reel that you can afford, okay? Because the parts are going to be much more durable. They take a beating. You don't have to baby them. So that is one thing. Second thing, don't throw your rod and reel on the ground. I see that many times, especially folks who are beginning. They catch a fish when they're landing, they throw away their rod and reel on the ground. So definitely soil get into the reel. It causes a lot of damage. So handle with care. That's one thing. Second thing is the video we just saw, right? Like what Owen was saying. That will take care of most of the issues. If you regularly wash your reel and maintain and store, like what we just saw on Owen's video, that should take care of the maintenance thing. Other than your once in a year, or probably if you're a heavy user, once in 6 months you do a full servicing, where you open everything and degrease and re-oil, re-grease and all that. So what we just saw with Owen's video is a great start. If we religiously do that, I think they will last a really long time. So that's my point of view.
Correct. I mean, reel is an investment, and like anything, like when you buy a car or when you buy a bike, maintenance is a very important aspect that goes into the reel. So I think keeping it in a proper shape, I think makes it last longer, and the reels will last you for a lifetime. Thank you, Om. Please be with us and don't go anywhere. We do have a rapid round, and also we might have some questions from the anglers. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Guys, let us now welcome Abdul. Abdul, I've known Abdul for a while now, and I've known of Abdul for a while now and had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of months ago. Abdul lives in Kerala and started lure fishing about 8 years ago. Abdul runs a very successful YouTube channel called Tackle Tips and is known for giving out great tips to anglers in Kerala. Welcome, Abdul. Please introduce yourself to our audience and share your experience about your trust with the baitcasting business.
Sure. Thanks, Derek. So first of all, thanks Pelagic and Shimano for giving this opportunity. Especially I feel always proud and happy to talk about baitcasting, because I think personally the experience with the baitcasting take me a step away actually in this angling field actually. So when it comes to baitcasting, actually I bought my first baitcasting reel in the year of 2015. So almost 6 years back. That was Shimano Sinan. That was my first reel. Then followed by my second reel was Shimano Curado. So still I am using. So almost 5-year-old Shimano Curado 201. And later I bought the latest Shimano Kolkata Congress DC reel. So I have all 3 reels from Shimano. So what is my personal experience, as you know, when I bought my first casting reel, actually my thinking was to cast accurate distance, especially when I am going for a snakehead fishing. So that was my purpose when I bought my first baitcasting reel. But I think when I start using the baitcast reel, I understood this is not only for a casting accuracy, but more than that, there are lots of things we can do with a baitcasting reel. And my personal best catch with baitcasting reel is 12 kg grouper. So that itself, most of the people who's watching this video also live also will think baitcasting reel is only for catching average size fish actually, especially when it comes to big grouper. I think none of us want think a baitcasting setup is enough for catching a big grouper, but it can be done with a proper experience and a proper setup. Even we can catch or we can target big grouper as well with baitcasting. And I love to fish, especially love to catch grouper using our baitcasting setup.
No, that is awesome to hear. We will get to the fish which you have spoken about in terms of the grouper. I think it's an amazing catch. Let's get to that. But before that, I have a question for you. You've used both magnetic brakes and centrifugal and DC, right? So you've got both. What was your comfort level with?
So actually, no. What DC will do is DC will make our job little easier, much easier, because we know it is working with a computer chip. This is one computer chip. So that computer chip itself will calculate the speed of our lure and everything. So like for a beginner or someone who's not have much more experience, actually for them, like digital DC reels will do much better for them, because there is no need to worry about backlash. So I won't tell there is zero backlash, still there is a backlash, because once we are careless, definitely backlash will come. So whenever we are using a baitcasting reel, tuning is much more important. So that is also, it is important for our DC reel as well. But one thing I would like to share with you, like especially in our Shimano reels, that wind mode, especially which is there in our Shimano Congress DC. So that is one experience I had. I have, like, even in a heavy wind condition, we are able to catch even a heavy lures using our digital control reel. So digital control, of course, it is easy to cast and we can cover maximum distance. Now I prefer baitcasting reel even for salmon fishing. So there is no worry for like a long casting, and even wind is not a big problem now with the digital control. So digital control is always something which preferable. So for me, like, even I can do much better casting with even a normal centrifugal or a magnetic reel because of my experience. But for a new angler, definitely digital control, I think it is easy to start with. Just like the car with gear and without gear.
Correct. I mean, I think you put the right analogy in place. Like DC is like using a car without gears and without using the clutch, so you straight. It's like auto transmission, which moves just by pressing the accelerator. So that is some very good analogy. And yes, I think it's at the angler's comfort level. Yes, the DC pricing is slightly more expensive than the regular reel because of the technology that is there, and the technology is only available in Shimano reels. No other competitors have the DC on the reel, and I think it's very important that you know this. And we also say, you can start with a select or something like that, which is a non-DC reel, which uses refusal. Abdul, we've seen you have caught a lot of fish. I mean, we saw all the fish that you've caught. We are particularly interested in that particular grouper. That's the massive grouper that you've caught. Okay, give us your experience on catching this grouper.
Yes, so that is one thing actually. That was one myth actually during in our anglers. I said, like, bite catching setup is not meant for a big or a game fish actually, but it's not just a myth. Actually, we can target big grouper as well. The one thing, like, we need to understand, like, bite catching reel actually, this bite catching reel is meant for heavy lures actually. We can use heavy lures when compared to spinning reels, and also we can use heavy lanes as well. So that is one advantage with the bait catching reel. Whenever we are using heavy lines, like, our casting distance won't be much compromised like a spinning reel, because we can always adjust our spool tension using spool tension knob. So you can cast similar distance. And the other thing is the way we hold our fishing rods, actually, bait catching rod and reel. It is little more like what I'll tell, when compared to spinning reel, we are holding both our rod and reel together. So our holding position is very strong. So when we fight with the big fish, the control on our rod and reel is much better when compared to spinning setup. So I will show you, like, what will happen in spinning setup actually. When there is a force from the fish, you can see there is because of this distance between the rod, where the rod actually the rod reel sitting on the reel spool. So there is always chance when we fight with a big fish. There is always chance of this twisting our hand. I'm talking about the monster fishing, but when it comes to bite casting, we can very well hold our fish, and also the hookup is much more easier when compared to spinning rod and reel. So that is one thing. So always, especially now in Shimano, we have brands, we have Curado 301, and there are some other like MD series, like MD is for Monster Drive. So always with this 3000 series or 400 or 300 series reel, definitely it meant for big fish, especially for those in Kerala. This is the season for grouper. So now grouper season is starting. Definitely you can enjoy your fish. Even that 12 kg fish, actually, I managed to catch with our Shimano Curado K201, just with 5 kg drag. So don't worry about this 5 kg. Even with 5 kg, you can very well handle a fish with your finger. Okay, so once if you are holding your spool with the finger, you can definitely handle your fish, but it is very much more difficult or spinning reel. Definitely you can hold your spool, but that is dangerous one way. So I won't suggest you to hold your spool when you are big fish caught, especially like which will run fast. No, never try that. But again, with the bite casting, it is easy and you can do that.
Correct. I mean, you're absolutely right. Some of the things to take away for all the viewers is Abdul is absolutely right. The distance is not compromised on a bait casting reel because you cast, the line goes straight through the guide and there's no friction, unlike the spinning reel. So that is one very important aspect. The second thing is the control of your rod and reel is direct onto your hand. It feels as if it's an extension of your hand, and so you can control the fish the way you want to control it. I think these are important tips for you to understand. So Abdul, I mean, so you've been after monster fish and you've caught some, big fish. So has the drag ever been an issue for you?
No, for me personally, not. Even for this big grouper, I got near, I think, 2 grouper in similar size. About the grouper, no, the thing is like we anglers like us, we know what fish we target actually. So especially when we go for a season, so very rarely only we'll get the off the target fishes. So actually, you know that the ruby crank, but I use it as a ruby crank. So it is actually we targeted grouper, so we know what is gonna catch that particular type. So it's for us. It is once we understood, like most of the anglers who have experienced it, so we know what we wanna target, wanna hit. So the similar time we will use our finger, actually thumb, to control. So for me personally, I have not experienced any trouble or issues with the drag actually. So most of the people used to ask me, like when I am talking about Curado or some other reels like 10K or 15K and drag weight is just 5. Actually, they will think, what Abdul, what Vajika, what you are talking about, like for 15K you are talking about 5 kg drag. But honestly speaking, no, those who are watching videos, they know it's 5-year-old reel actually. This is 5-year-old reel, and so that is a catch with. Still, I am using very smooth, and thanks for Shimano, that wonderful Hakane body and micro module gear put together. No, and actually still this reel not met our Owen. So only my own service that was required for this particular reel last 5 years. So with our minimum service, what our Owen shown, no. So I am managing this particular reel for 5 years. So wonderful, actually, wonderful reel.
No, that is correct. Thank you so much. Anglers, as you see, the drag is not an issue. If it's 5 kg, your finger drag actually could be much higher with the pressure. And also, I think one thing I forgot, which Abdul mentioned, he's right. There are series of the reels that are out in Shimano. So that you have the 100 size reel, which is the small reel, which is great for snakeheads, great for small fish. But if you are going after monster fish, I think the 200 and the 300 and the 400 series reel work the best, and they have a greater line capacity and higher drag, which allows you to control the bigger fish. Abdul, don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for being here. I will get back to you as soon as I finish with the other 2 guests. We should have a rapid fire questions. So please be with us, and let me introduce you to our 3rd guest, who is Ziegen. Ziegen is from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. He has been a fishing enthusiast from a very small age. He loves chasing fish in freshwater, which is very unique because he lives in Chennai and he's surrounded by salt water, yet he loves freshwater. He believes in sustainable fishing and also selective harvesting. Ziegen, welcome to the show, and please give us a brief introduction and your entry into bait casting to the audience.
Hi, Derek. Hi, Shimano team. Thank you so much for having me. And like Derek already introduced, I'm Ziegen, and I grew up fishing in the Tambarkarni River in South Tamil Nadu. I used to use a hook and a bamboo pole to catch tilapias and what we call locally jalebi. And I've been fishing with a rod and reel since probably 2010. And even back then, I was doing primarily bait fishing. But then my world changed when I started fishing with a bait caster in 2015 approximately. And back then, my first bait caster was an Abu Garcia bait caster. And off late, probably a couple of years back, I moved into getting Shimano reels, and I have a SLX and a Curado DC. And I love these reels because I've used even the top end Abu Garcia reels, but I find these reels much more smoother. SLX is probably the most entry-level bait caster at this point. And you have, the Shimano Casitas that Omi was talking about. This reel basically is the same reel as the Casitas, and this is a very strong, very durable reel. You could check Marudu or a few other anglers from Tamil Nadu. They use this reel both in salt and in fresh water, and they've had good results. And I've been using this for about a year now, and I use it primarily to chase after Chinas striata, which is the common species of snakehead around Chennai. And I just love this reel because I can cast smaller lures, I can cast bigger lures. I can outcast most of the normal spinning setups that my friends cast with, probably with the same lure rating, and I just love this reel. Dick, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I put myself on mute. I said thank you so much for your explanation and entry into the baitcasting setup, and I think you have caught a lot of fish in terms of the snakeheads primarily. What we would like to know is what was your first fish on the baitcasting reel?
Well, it was Shania Marulius, bullseye snakehead primarily. Yes.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. So since you live in the coast, Ziegen, I don't know if you have ventured into the sea with the baitcasting setup. Have you used the baitcasting setup in the saltwater as well?
Yes, I have. But for me, the baitcasting rods that I have are technically not long enough, and Chennai conditions are a little more challenging because we have to fish mostly off jetties. And so a longer rod technically helps us, land the fish much more easily. And so I have saltwater rated setups for that. I do not venture out much with my Shimano reels. I mean, basically my baitcaster reels into the salt. That's just my personal preference. I'm waiting for, getting a reel like maybe a Tranks or a Calcutta, which is like one of my dream reels. Maybe when I get that, I will venture out more into saltwater fishing with my baitcasting setup as well.
Okay, I mean, that's interesting what you say. I mean, I think I think you've seen what Owen says and how to maintain it. Probably now you can be a little more adventurous if you start maintaining your reel to go into salt water. But the one thing with that stuff was that you said that you need longer rods. So has casting distance been an issue on your bait casting reel?
No. I would say once I get past the learning curve, which for me, because I was really, really enthusiastic with the baitcaster, as soon as I got it, I was like, for weeks, I was just sitting inside my house, when I was watching TV, sitting on my couch and just flicking with the baitcaster, and I practiced a lot. So when I went on the water, I didn't have much of a problem with with backlash or other such problems. And I think it all comes down to how you, set the reel. And I think once you figure that out, which is a steep learning curve, but it can be overcome like in a week or in a couple of days, actually, if you're as crazy as me. And you will be able to outcast most of the spinning setup because there is a lot of less resistance from the line when you're casting using a bait casting setup.
That is correct. I mean, I feel the same thing too. I can outcast any anglers using a shorter rod. The longest rod I use is a 6 feet 7 inches. So I don't think you need a longer rod to actually use on the shore. That's what, at least my personal feeling, because I can cast heavier reels lures, as Abdul mentioned, and I can cast it to a great distance into the water. So that gives me a huge advantage because there is absolutely no friction while using that. Can you tell me what was the difference you felt between spinning and bait casting when you had that transition? What was the big difference?
Okay, till I moved into bait casting, I never really focused on control or accuracy. And one of the reasons I moved into bait casting, and ever since I moved into bait casting, I've been doing primarily lure fishing. And so before that, it was just, bait, blind cast, anywhere, everywhere, with a lot of guesswork. But after I've started using the bait casting setup, I don't really, I sight fish a lot. I see where the fish is, and I, use techniques like skipping and flipping and pitching. And so accuracy has been one of the hallmark things that I really enjoy with the bait casting setup. And I strongly feel I'm able to control the speed of the lure, even the momentum with which the lure drops on the water. It can, make or break your cast, because it's so easy to spook a fish. And so especially striatas, they get spooked very easily. So I can even control the momentum with which the lure lands in the water. And that is something that I find is impossible in a spinning setup, because then there's too much of hand movement involved. In this, I just have to click, cast, and rotate again, and I'm on. But in a spinning setup, I have to open the bail, close the bail, stop the reel, stop the line, stop the lure. It's just too much of mess, which is totally avoided when it comes to a bait casting setup.
Thank you so much, Ziegen. I think that is very important for the viewers and the viewers who are there to take away what Ziegen said. Is the accuracy is very, very important. It makes a lot of sense to use a bait casting for accuracy. He's also right when the fish are spooky, and then when you're in a situation which is there's a lot of pressure, then I think bait casting helps you lob lures very close to the fish and making less noise. So your chances of hooking onto a fish is much higher than using a spinning setup, which could be a little bit noisy. Thank you, Ziegen. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, to brag, I would say I've been more successful as an angler, especially with lure fishing, with a bait casting setup than with a spinning setup.
That is correct. You also get to work the lures exactly the way you want. I think it's very, very important on that point. Thank you, Ziegen. Thank you for being there, but don't go anywhere. We still have another round for you, and maybe a few questions from the other anglers. Guys, let us welcome the last guest, but not the least, is Nizam. Nizam, I have known him for quite some time now. He's an amazing angler to fish with. I've fished with him once. Most of you have seen his YouTube channel, Nizam's Vlogs, and Nizam runs this beautiful lifestyle fishing, kayaking show where he catches fish, also uses it, uses it for travel. Nizam has been fishing from his childhood and fishes almost every day. I've seen him fishing every day. Every time I call him, every time I think he is fishing. So he's on the water. I can hear his boat. He's got some amazing boats. I am dying to go out with him to go fish with him very, very soon, hopefully. So Nizam, welcome to the show. Most of the guys would already know you, but please give a brief introduction of yourself to the audience and also share your experience on bait casting. Welcome, Nizam.
Myself, I am Nizam. I am from Kerala, the southern state of India. I have been doing fishing from my childhood onwards. I don't know when I got my first rod and reel. I think in 2002. It's a gifted from one of my friends. But I learned to cast, I think, after 8 years. Before 2002 to 2008, 9, something, that much of years I didn't know how to use the rod and reel. But at last, I used to tie the line to the guide and use the rod only. I released the reel and I kept it aside. That's the beginning of my fishing. Then 2012 onwards, I started doing fishing with the rod and reel and lure also. Then suddenly there is a time I feel to change my spinning setup to Baitcaster on 2015, I think, because 2014 onwards I am doing some kayak fishing and boat fishing and all, by using some vessels and all. That time, why I changed it to Baitcaster, only because of once we cast, afterwards there is no control at all in spinning. But Baitcaster, there is a control after releasing the our lure. That's the major attraction point for me, for shifted to Baitcaster. And I am a mix-up user of Baitcaster and spinning, and at the present moment also.
No, that is amazing. I mean, I have fished with Nizam and I have seen his fishing style. I think it's something which has changed in terms of the fishing. And also, everyone, Nizam runs the first and only kayak fishing resort in India. I think if you are in Kerala at any point in time, you should head down to his resort and get the experience of fishing from a kayak. I think it's an amazing experience. I have fished on a kayak, and it's completely different from what you do from a shore or a boat. So Nizam, one of the questions is basically, when did you first start using bait casting?
Baitcaster.
Yeah,
I think 2016. I think because 16. Only because of 2014 onwards, I am doing fishing through by some help of kayak or boat, something else. Afterwards, when I started doing kayak and boat fishing, I never used to sit over any shore banks or anywhere. I am fed up with those traditional fishing. I am really enjoying while doing fishing with the sceneries and a lot of new spots. I never stay a particular spot for more than 10 or 15 minutes. I will try over one space and I will move back to some another space, something like that. So usually my fishing day means I will travel around at least 20 kilometers to maximum I have gone through 120 kilometers through by my boat. So so what's the problem with the spinning setup? First I started with the spinning through by boat. Then suddenly what happened, in some places there are a lot of water current and all. The boat we can anchor also. And once we started a particular spot, the boat start moving. Then we need to do our casting accurate. So that purpose, spinning, sometimes we will lose our control. Then I start moving to Baitcaster. What's the advantage? We can cast accurate because most of the anglers they knows about that. While doing boat fishing and all, we always focusing on some obstacle area, somewhat pillar side of bridge and some weedy area, rocky structure. That time casting accuracy is really helpful to control our lure. Otherwise, we might be there's a chance to hook our lure in some weeds or some branches of trees, and maybe there is a chance to get line stuck on the pillar side and all. So that time, this Baitcaster is really helpful for such the situations.
Yes. Thank you, Nizam. I think your experience says it all, and I think the transition from your spinning to the bait casting setup is actually natural and also has given you the actual purpose, right? So for anglers, this is a great takeaway for you from Nizam. Is basically Accuracy is very, very important when fishing, especially certain species of fish. And if you're doing sight fishing, then I think it's very, very important. So bait casting setup gives you that accuracy which you need to target that particular fish. So Nizam, from your experience, if there was one Shimano reel you had to recommend to viewers, to begin with, which one would it be and why?
Actually, I started my first reel. I think I have talked with you. Around 5 years back, something 5 or 4 years back. I have planned to buy one Shimano Kona. It's an expensive reel, my first reel. But that time I was confused about the drag was too low. I think 5 kg, something like that. That time I doesn't know about that. The drag is, I thought like that the drag is the most important thing while doing fishing, because I'm just planning to shift to spinning to Baitcaster. Normally, most of the beginners, they think about the drag setup. They need heavy drag like 12 kg, 13 kg. Once I comes to change to the first reel, this one, Shimano Konak, I don't know whether it's right now is available or not. That reel is one of the excellent reel with a small spool size, and it's a lighter reel also. While using our thumb, that's the drag. We don't need any drag setup to control while catching fish and all of that. I think most of the anglers, they are thinking the huge drag setup is required for Baitcaster. It's a terrible mistake. There is no need. There is a lighter drag is sufficient to catch 14 kg of fish in my life, barramundi. And I recommended in current scenario, I recommended all anglers to for the beginner, XLX is one of the wonderful reel. I purchased. Right now, it's not with my hand; it's in my club, so I doesn't keep any stuffs over here. Otherwise, I could have been show you. In screen there is that. I will recommend SLX. It's a budget friendly also, and the quality wise also. And I have done the review about that reel also. I am really really I like that reel. I can recommend to all the beginners to shift on to SLX. No need to go for the 15K or 20K reel, but it's slightly the price wise and the quality wise is excellent.
Yes, I think your recommendation is well noted and taken. I think SLX is something that we all recommend as well. And it's an excellent beginner reel to thing. I wouldn't say it's exactly a beginner reel. It's actually, I think it's in between. And I think it's got all the great features and it's very rugged as well. So I think...
Can I identify one thing? Basically, I have getting a lot of inquiries from the beginners anglers, those who are looking forward for a Baitcaster. Those people are asking, means that they are addressing me like in Zamka. So they are asking like that, why should I buy a professional reel? I am a beginner. Shall I try some beginner friendly reel comes under 1K or 2K, something like that? It's not like that. That's the means means not a quality reel. Means a Chinese, something like that. A base model reel is maybe it can use experts. For a beginner, they have to use some perfect reel without any backlash, with a proper gear.
Correct.
Most of the people are there. Even spinning, they can start their career with a low budget reel. But in Baitcaster, it's not like that. Low budget reel is good for big experts. Once they started from the low budget, they will frustrated and they will stop their fishing activity also at all.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
You couldn't have said it more right. I mean, I think it is very, very important. And I have seen that happen also. A lot of people like invest in a very, very cheap reel and then they say, okay, let's go on to bait casting, but get very frustrated because the reel, when it's cheap, it does not have any features. So you get into problems You'll have birds' nests. It will give it trouble. It'll get stuck. It will break. So many and they
They
give
will
up. So
think,
yeah,
they will think like that. It's not for us.
yeah,
We will do in spinning itself.
correct. That is right.
It's a big problem.
Thank you so much, Nizam. Thank you for sharing your experience. We will move on to our next round. That is the rapid fire. Can we have everyone into the show so we can ask these questions, and then we'll probably also have some questions from the users. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome, Ziegen. Welcome, Om. I don't see Abdul yet. Yeah, there's Abdul joining.
Yes, yes.
So, just two questions, everyone. But I'm going to ask one by one. It's a rapid fire. That means you will not have time to think. You have to answer the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. I will start off with Om. Om, this is your first question. If you were stuck on an island for the rest of your life and had to choose one bait casting reel, which you would fish every day, which one would it be?
Curado K.
Correct. What is your most embarrassing moment while fishing using a bait casting system?
Is it for me, Derek? And I didn't hear the question.
The question is, what is your most embarrassing moment while fishing using a bait casting setup?
Voice was breaking.
Yeah, most what? Sorry, voice was breaking.
Yeah, what is your most embarrassing moment? Embarrassing moment while fishing using a bait casting system.
I was using a rare lure. Crocodile. It was a crocodile spoon, 1 ounce spoon. This was during the very beginning days. Long cast. I didn't realize that my brakes are all the way off. No brakes on. I didn't realize that. Made a bomb cast and there goes the lure. I was seeing that lure for like 3-4 seconds in the air with the brake down. That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens.
Yeah. I have done something well at one point. I think trying something similar, and I had a heavy lure, and I was showing off to someone, saying that I'll show you, and I did it. The lure broke, and the lure went to the other side of the river, but it was broken. And the other person, wow, that's a very far distance. Said yes, without the line, it goes very far. Thank you, Om. Ziegen, Ziegen, what would your first reaction be if you saw a friend pick up your bait casting setup to cast when he or she has never fished before?
Well, I will sit and watch the fun unfold.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah.
Which is your first, love, whether it's freshwater or saltwater?
Freshwater any day, especially rivers, not lakes, ponds, rivers.
River. Great. Thank you, Ziegen. The next set of questions is for you. Who was your first love? I mean the reel, yeah? The bait casting reel. Don't give out all the business names.
This is Bantam. I still have to have one Bantam.
Bantam, okay. Shimano Bantam.
Yeah.
Abdul, if you were to catch, given only one fish to catch for the rest of your life, which fish would it be?
I would like to fish one Merlin with our bite casting reel.
Catch? No, this is not what you run. What if you were said that if you were told that you can only catch one fish for the rest of your life, that is every day, what fish would it be?
So Merlin.
Marlin, okay, Marlin. Wow, you built some good muscles on that. Nizam,
Yes.
again, if one of the viewers would want to gift you a bait casting reel, which one would you choose?
Curado DC. I never used, but I heard a lot about that.
Curado DC, that is great. I think, yeah, it's a great reel. I think for anyone, and I think yes, it would be one of my. I would choose a Conquest, but yeah, I would think Again, the same question for you. If you were given only one choice of fish to catch for the rest of your life, which fish would it be?
Maybe nail perch.
Nile perch for the rest of your life. Interesting. Interesting. That's awesome. I mean, I'm going to ask this question to all of you anyway. So since we are all here, so which fish would it be? I would say snakehead, I think. But...
Massive for a change, a big one. I never caught a big massive. Yeah.
What about you, Ziegen?
I would say golden masher.
Yeah, I think for me also it would be masir. If I had to choose one fish for the rest of my life to catch, it would be a masir, but all the species are masir. And if they say it's salt water, then it would be GT. For the rest of my life, I will catch a GT. Thank you so much, everyone. I think this has been a great interaction. Now let's go on to the questions which we have from the audience. Let's get David back in, and so David can answer some questions as well. So we have some questions. Let me pick up some questions quickly. Okay. So Sneha Augustine is asking the best reel and rod combination for a woman to start bait casting. Om, do you want to take that question?
Sure, Derek. Rod, perhaps you could help, or perhaps David. Reel, definitely, I would say 2 reels. One SLX if you're very totally beginning, and if you have little more budget, a Curado K, 200 size Curado K, if you have the budget. That will be my absolute recommendation for anybody, regardless male angler or women angler.
What about David? David, what would you suggest in terms of the rod?
Yeah, for rod wise, I would recommend the Majestic because Majestic, they have a different length and different action to cater for different fishing style and the area that we're going to fish. For example, if you want to fish at an open area where distance is one of the priority, then you can have a 6 feet rod. But you are fishing where there's a lot of what I call this overhanging vegetation, or you're fishing very close, very nearby. You can even have a 6 feet 6 or even a 6 feet rod. Yeah, so Majestic is I think it's a pretty versatile rod. You can match with just what Om say, the Colorado. Yeah, it's a very good rod.
Sneha, I think you got your answer. The options would be is an SLX or a Curado if you want a slightly bigger reel, and Majestic as a rod to begin with. But I don't think this is all the rods and reels are gender neutral, so there is nothing specific for women or men. It's great to have you on the show, and also great to know that you want to start bait casting. So you could be one of the few women anglers in India who takes up bait casting and takes it to a different level. And hopefully we have this show next year again, and then we could invite you as one of the speakers. Thank you, Sneha, for your question. I will move on to the next question. This is actually a very weird question. This is from Shiabuddin. He says, suggest a lure. So Nizam, do you want to take and explain how to pick a lure for which fish?
I didn't understand the question. Once.
The question is, suggest a lure. I'm not sure for which fish.
Yeah, I think Baramundi, that duo fang bite is excellent.
Okay, I mean, just explain for different fish, like for Baramundi, for mangrove jack, what would the lure do?
For Baramundi, this one, this fang bite, duo fang bite, and for the snakehead, I used that there is a lure called Gem Frog Skip 15. It's one of my biggest fan. I'm being used that feed Skip 15 lure, and I catch around more than 500 of snakers. at the beginning stage.
I think, yeah, sorry,
And
maybe allow me to speak a bit. I think it's a bit difficult to suggest a lure to the anglers because first we need to know what are the fish we are targeting. For example, if you are offshore, you're targeting groupers or mangrove jack, or the bottom feeder, a crankbait or a deep diver is a lure that you choose from. If, for example, if you want to target a stinghead, where there's a lot of vegetation coverage, a frog will do. But if you talk about in the area where there's not much of a vegetation, personally, I will use spinnerbait because I love spinnerbait. And if you talk about, say, that's what Derek said, one of the fish you want to target the most is the GT. Normally, pencil is the lure to choose. So for me personally, I love to use lure. So if I open my tackle box, I have all sort of lure. So it's very difficult to have one single lure to catch all different type of fish. So as to summarize, is that depending on what is your target fish and where are you gonna fish. So every lure will have their advantages to be used in that environment. Yeah.
No, that is correct. I mean, as David mentions, I think suggesting a lure is actually a very, very vast thing. I mean, we have hundreds of lures which we use for different situations, the color, depth, and depending on the type of fish which we catch. So I think there is a wide variety. There's like, I mean, you have choice between the top water, mid water, bottom, and so you can choose these depending on fishing setup you're using. So there is another question. Maybe Ziegen can take this question. It says, when we start off with bait casting, buying a DC reel is not affordable, which is correct. So which alternatives do you prefer for beginners?
Well, there's just one alternative, which is the SLX, and I would recommend that you decide the speed of the reel based on the kind of fishing that you're going to do. And an additional tip, since I've given out SLX as the reel for you, work on control as you begin. Get your accuracy right. Your distance will automatically come. You don't have to work too hard to get the distance. Once you work on your accuracy, which requires a little more work, your distance will come in naturally. And so, the reason I say SLX is the reel for you to go is, one, the price point. And believe me when I tell you, this is one of the smoothest reels that I've used. And for the purpose of getting a reel with which you will be inspired to fish more, I would recommend the SLX.
No, that is a good suggestion. I think we have been recommending SLX as a starting reel, not as an entry level or beginner reel, but it is a starting reel which gives you the confidence and takes you to the next level. Thank you, Ziegen, for the answer. Abdul, I think there are two questions which actually are similar. One was actually addressed to Owen, but I think you're best suited to answer this because of your experience. So the question is from Abhishek and someone calling me, says fishing with love. I'm not sure what's the name. But the question is, could you suggest some primary tips for grouper fishing? And what is the best lure for grouper?
So what was the first question? Actually, I missed the first question.
The first question is some primary tips for grouper fishing.
Okay, yeah. So what I'll talk here, like the primary tips for shore fishing, actually. So I'm talking about shore. The primary tip is like we need a fishing reel with a power gear, actually. So that make our job little more easier when you target grouper, because grouper normally don't give much more time for you. So if you have a power gear, it's easy. You can land a big fish actually without giving any time. So that is the first bit. And most probably a very good leader line actually. So most probably what I will do when I fish from shore, I will try to keep the leader line as big as my minimum my rod length. So it will keep reduce touching my line with the rock or something. So I will prefer if I'm using a 9 feet or 10 feet rod, the similar length leader line I will keep. That is one thing. So the remaining things the grouper activity. Actually, what I found now when there is a tide time, especially the tide meet even time, like sunrise and morning, even sunrise, I saw the activity is much good actually. The activity is very good especially when it comes to grouper. So be on time. That is very, very because I saw in my harbor, we can see when the tide is almost similar to a moonrise, like a sunset time. I can see from one end to another end, the line is getting broken, So the activity will be very high that particular time. So be on time, and the most preferably a power gear ratio is very good. And when it comes to lure, actually, any lure which travel 2 to 4 meter or 5 meter or more than 2 meter length, it will work well. And personally, I use crankbait. Crankbait is doing very good job actually. And even I love to use some trolling lure as well. So I don't make even it is a 150 mm lure, so it's working much better for a grouper even from shore. So scientifically, it's not a better choice, but for a bear, even our trolling lures working very well. And of course, a 6-inch or 8-inch shot is doing much better for the grouper.
No, that is true. Yeah. They also want what is the lure, which is the best lure for grouper fishing.
So, so you mean my favorite lure?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of lures. One is our 100 DR and Zarak. I like Zarak and like 100 DR and like Yazuri, deep minnow. That is one of my favorite. And I love our Magic, and I love our Strike Strike Pro lure. And I have one favorite lure, but unfortunately not available now. That is Shimano. Oh, sorry, I'm not getting that. That was an Australian edition lure. So Shimano Wild Stage. There is a one Wild Stage deep water lure. So maybe I don't know whether I can identify that particular lure. So I had used that 4 years back. One Wild Stage gold and I have another. Sorry, almost similar. Almost similar type lure. Sorry, not similar type. This is one type of Wild Stage lure. So similar, we have one more Wild Stage deep lure. So unfortunately, I'm not able to identify the lure name now. That is one of the best lure I have used for grouper. And of course, we have our Zara Khan is doing much better for grouper as well. So these are the few lures I always prefer for for grouper.
Thank you, Abdul. I think, David, this question is for you. What can we do for thumb bar getting stuck in hard while engaging the thumb bar? What can we do for drag washers, which is still engaging after fully loosening the star drag? This is from Vijit.
Okay. Maybe I address the star drag. I think the reason what causes the drag back from compressing is that as just now what Owen has mentioned, during storage, it is better for you, or it's best to release the drag from the drag setting. You do not want your reel to be stored with the reel in a full drag setting. The reason is because for prolonged storage, when the trap pad and the trap piece been pressed together, it will stick together. Okay, so for example, if you're planning to store for prolonged time, reduce the pressure, and also try to apply some drag grease onto the trap pad during the normal servicing. And for the thumb bar, I would suspect is that there might some corrosion or some dirt been trapped at the moving parts. So I would recommend that you send your reel. I'm not sure what reel is that, but you can send the reel to Owen to check it out. So yeah, so I think just now what Owen did mention during the initial stage is that during the, what you need to do during the after your fishing trip. So all these maintenance or cleaning is very important, especially every fishing trip.
Absolutely. I think that's right. I think, Sujit, I've not had an issue with the thumb bar, especially while using it. I did have one issue, last November. It was like I was trying to fish from between the weeds, and I got the weeds stuck, in the worm gear and also in the thumb bar, and I had an issue, and I gave it to Owen, and Owen cleaned up the entire thing, and that reels, there's been no issues on that front. I think if you do have a Shimano reel, which you're having an issue, please do send it to us, and we would love to look it up and take a look at it and see if we can sort that issue out. The next question is by Parvez Qureshi. This is open to anyone who wants to take this question. Would you suggest bait casting setup for ledgering fishing? Would it be effective? Anybody wants to take this up?
I'm not sure what's a ledgering.
Okay, so
okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Whoever wants to.
Eric, can I take that?
Yeah, sure.
Ledgering is basically a technique where you use a weight, probably an olive, a bead kind of weight, probably Texas rigged, with the lure, with a bait. All right. So I would still recommend a bait casting setup for ledgering because you have the advantage of keeping your hand over the line. The line would go out from your the line guide, and so you have the advantage of keeping your hand over like this when you're holding the rod, and so you can feel the small bites also very easily. And in a spinning setup, ideally, when I used to do ledgering long back, I used to hold the line away from the bail, in my finger along with the line. But in this, you can just keep your hand over like this. I use this technique, to cover to touch the line even when I'm retrieving a lure, so that, especially when I'm using spinners and spinner baits, so I'm more sensitive to the small nibbles also on my lure. So obviously, yes, you can use a bait casting setup, and I would say that this setup is a little more suited for a ledgering use.
Correct. I agree with Ziegen, 100%. So ledgering is actually a little bit of finesse fishing. You're targeting smaller fish, so you don't need a distance. You don't need to cast a very long distance. Ledgering is generally done very close by, so bait casting works the best. And a finesse reel like the MGLs on reel would work the best with lighter line.
Absolutely.
And Ziegen is actually the best way to feel the fish is by using the bait casting setup. I would definitely use, though the minus part of it is a long rod.
Can you repeat that? I don't think we hear that.
Sorry, there's a lot of noise coming from somebody. Okay. I'm saying the minus part of it is that the ledgering is generally you use longer rods for it, like 9 feet and things like that. which in bait casting would be a slight disadvantage. But that is counteracted by using a lighter setup. So it's correct. Absolutely right. Great. I will go to the next question. Okay, I don't know where the noise is coming from, but I will go to the next question. Again, it's an open question. What bait casting setup for GT popping? Anybody?
No,
David.
Yeah, maybe I would recommend the trans. Few reasons. Trans has a higher capacity line. Higher capacity. We have a trans size 400. If I'm not wrong, you can hold up to at least 250 meters of PE3 lines. And also the trans 400 come with higher drag setting. The drag setting, if I'm not wrong, is about 8 kg. Yeah. So I would recommend trans, and also trans is a solid reel where the body is made out of metal. So in terms of flex, there's a very minimum flex. So you have more control on controlling your fish during the hookup.
Yes, I mean I've used tranks for actual GT popping, so I can safely say that tranks would be a natural choice. For big GTs, like where you're targeting GTs of 40-50 kilos, it might not be ideal for popping, but I think you can use it for jigging. Okay, and let's see if we have any other questions. Prasanna Kumar's question is whether the mechanism in the bait casting reel is the same as the big convention reel in the bait cast reel.
Derek, we lost you there. It's same as the what? Sorry?
As the convention reels, multiplier convention reels, big game convention reels.
What's the question? We didn't catch you.
Okay, the question is the bait cast reel, whether the mechanism is the same as the big game convention reel. Question. I think the first question was, is the baitcast reel evolved from deep sea overhead reel, and whether the mechanism is same as the big game convention reel. So, Prasanna Kumar, for the first question, please wait till the end, because there is a beautiful video, this is for all viewers, there's a beautiful video on in terms of the history of bait casting reels. Maybe that will answer your question. For the second question, whether the mechanism is the same as the big game convention reel, whether the bait casting and the big game convention have the same mechanism. That's the question.
Can I try answering? Maybe David can add to it.
Sure.
Yeah. So Prasanna, yes, the answer is most part the design is the same. The design between the big game, the conventional reels that you're talking about, and bait casting reels are mostly the same. You have a main gear, you have a pinion gear, right? One addition or subtraction would be the line guide, the level wind system. On a big game conventional reel, you may not see they have a level wind. It's the line lays through your thumb usually, and they use usually very thick lines, mono, most of the time. Right, on a baitcaster for our ease, you have the level wind mechanism where you have a worm shaft where your line guide moves. If you have seen it, I can probably show you. You see the line guide, it moves, right? So it helps you to lay the line equally on the spool, which would be usually missing on the typical conventional reels. Otherwise, the mechanism is more or less the same. David, you can add, clarify more.
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, the concept is the same. As what you explained is that the big game reel, they do not have the line guide. It's because the line is thicker. And also, as when you talk about big game, normally the fish are usually bigger and the dash is much more faster. So if there's a line guide in a big game reel, then there's a possibility that the line guide, the worm shell might give way. Yeah. So basically, I can say is that the working concept is the same. Basically, the power transfer is directly is same direction as how you crank the reel. The way is x-axis and the spool will turn in x-axis. Yeah.
I think also the big game reels are lesser suited for casting, whereas the baitcaster or the lower profile reels are more suited for casting.
Correct. Because the bigger game reel is much more heavier. It's quite difficult to
the
cast.
spool is heavier, so
Yeah, correct.
Sorry, Nizam has dropped off. I think he has some issue. The power connection has gone. So we've lost him. Anyway, I think it is time we end the show. We've been here for a long time. And let's get on to the last interesting part of the show, which is I'm hearing a lot of noise. There's some audio issues. Sorry about that. I don't know whether it's only for me or it's for others, but there was a lot of audio issue. It keeps coming and going. So I think we're okay. Guys, I think it is time for the winners to be announced at the end of the live stream. So to claim your prize, winners must comment immediately in the chat box. So make sure you comment. If there is no comment, we will pick another winner. So the winners, let me just get the list. Congratulations, Sneha Augustine. If you're around, please put in a comment right now that you are around. Sneha Augustine, please put a comment. You are one of the winners. Yes, Sneha is here. Hi, Sneha. Congratulations. She's here. Congratulations. Please do get in touch with us. We have a small issue for if the other winners from the previous shows are here. Due to the lockdown, we haven't received one parcel yet. So please bear with us for a few more days. We will actually, we will send you those gifts as soon as we receive. We've received one box, but the other box we haven't received. So please bear with us. It would take us a little more time. And once we receive that other box, we will send out your prizes immediately. The three lucky winners are Xavier, Shiabuddin, and Sujit Mohan Das. If you're around, please say hi and please claim your prize. Xavier, I can't pronounce the next name, sorry. And Shiabuddin and Sujit. Xavier says hi. Xavier is here. Sujit says hi. Hi, Sujit. And the final person, Ziabuddin, is it? Yeah, Shiabuddin. Shiabuddin, please say hi, Shiabuddin, if you are around. We've got two winners. Shiabuddin is there. Thank you, everyone. I mean, it's great being on the show. I mean, it's been. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as we have. Enjoyed presenting it for you. Thank you so much for being a part of this great baitcasting show. Thank you, David. I would also just one thing before we close off and everyone says thank you. I would like to get June on the video, please. June, please come onto the video. All this is happening because June is at the background making this show happen. So June, please say.
Hi guys. Thank you all for joining us. It's really a pleasure to see all the anglers learning about bait casting tips. I learned so much from all of you wise anglers. So happy that everyone is here joining. Thank you so much for supporting us on this bait casting clinic journey. Thank you. Hi from Singapore.
Thank you very much, all of you, Om, Ziegen, Abdul, and David. So please, any last thing the users, please tell them bye. It's going to be some time before we do the next show.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for having us,
Thank you.
Shimano and Pelagic Tribe team.